Shalom, everybody. We are continuing with where we left off in Likutey Halakhot, section Orach Chaim, the laws of giving thanks, Birkat Hoda'ah, discourse number 6, paragraph 24, which again is based on Likutey Moharan, lesson 24. And a friendly reminder, please, if these classes are helping you, are inspiring you, please share them and on your status, please. Let the word get out. Okay. To recap where we left off, we're holding in Rav Noson's explanation how he's opening up the opening verses of Parashat Vayetze, which deal with Yaakov's dream of the ladder. Okay, so we said that the verse reads that Yaakov left Beersheba, which is where he was with his father. He was fleeing from Esav really because Esav wanted to kill him. And he went all the way to Haran. We're skipping other details, of course. He went all the way to Haran, and then he said, how could I have skipped davening in the place of the Beit HaMikdash, Har Moriah, where Avraham and Yitzchak davened, and I didn't daven there. So we went back, and the Midrash says that the earth was Kfitzat HaDerech, was shortened, so he made it quicker. And we're holding, if you remember, on the verse, the second verse of the Parsha, the opening verse, Vayifga Ba'makom. And he reached that place, right? It reached it, meaning that it was suddenly. He reached this place unexpectedly because the earth closed up. But then the verse says, Vayalen Shem, and he decided to sleep there. He slept there. Why? Because the sun set earlier than its right time. Okay, if you recall, we said that what Yaakov Avinu is going through here in the Torah, and what the Torah is telling us that Yaakov Avinu is a significance for the whole Jewish people. He's going through the process of how to connect to the infinite light, which is basically the goal of every single Jew and every single person in the world, is to connect to Hashem's light. That's why Hashem created this world, to have His goodness revealed. The goodness, the ultimate goodness of Hashem is the infinite light. We said it many times already, or light is Gematria Ein Sof, the infinite one. Meaning that have light in your existence, which is what Hashem does want. Hashem wants you to serve Him with light and not just sorrow and sadness and suffering and heaviness. That's not Judaism. That's exile. Okay, that's exile. Yes, we don't deny that. But as a Jew, we have to be above that. We have to be above that. You cannot be a victim and live your life, heavy and down, and everyone's going through tzudas, everyone's going through difficulties, and that's how it is. You're meant to go above that. That's what Hashem wants. Hashem wants His goodness to reveal in this world, not just in the world to come. Hashem doesn't want, okay, you're working hard and then you're going to get a reward. Hashem wants in this world to be revealed. That's the greatness. He wants the goodness to be revealed in this world. So the process here is Vayifga. If you remember, we went into this idea of the Pigia B'makom, that Rav Nosson saying that the verse is showing us the procedure, how Yaakov Avinu perceives the infinite light, and how every Jew also can perceive the infinite light. So if you recall, we said Vayifga B'makom, Pigia means to hit. That he hit into the wall of the Keter, which is called the Makom, because Hashem is called the place of the world, and the world is not the place of Hashem. Hashem is Mekomo Shel Olam, Ve'en Olam Mekomo, and since the Keter, this sphera, this wall of Keter is the gateway to Hashem's infinite light, which is in a sense Hashem Himself. So we call the Makom, the place, which is a reference to Hashem, Keter. So we've got Makom, and then we said that since the bounce back is a burdensome procedure, because you're always advancing and you get bounced back. You advance, bounce back. And it happens a lot until you get burdened. Ideally, we shouldn't be burdened, but because we're in exile and the process of elevating holiness trapped below, which is why you're being bounced back to collect them again through simcha, since it's burdensome, Rav Nosson said in the last class we gave, that we have no choice but to go to sleep. Sleep is giving not just the body a break, but the neshama a break. The neshama break in this procedure of going back up and out. Sleep is just take a break, and you have to go in sleep mode, which is reference to the Galut, because the exile is so long and difficult. So it says Yaakov had no choice but to sleep. And we asked a good question. How could you sleep in such a holy place? Who in the world would want to sleep with the place of the Beit HaMikdash is? Come on. But that's the whole thing. that Yaakov Avinu saw that in order to elevate the holiness trapped, he had no choice to vayal and sham, to sleep there. Why? Kiva Shemesh, that the light of serving Hashem takes off. It's mistalek, and a person has a burden in doing this work of getting back up. So out of necessity, a person needs to sleep. And even the tzaddikim have a setback. We said that in the last class, that even the tzaddikim, they have a setback. They also sleep, okay? They have a lina. And because of the generation, because of the blemishes of the generation, the tzaddik on his part, he has no problem. He doesn't have to fall asleep. He doesn't have to go to sleep mode. He's in sleep mode because of the generation, and he's out to help the generation. That's why tzaddik is a tzaddik. So he has no choice but to go through also a sleep process, a sleep mode. Okay. So now that's the idea of Vayal and Shem Kiva Shemesh. Now the next part of the verse, Vayikach, and this refers to every Jew. Just Yaakov is the symbolism for everyone. Vayikach me'avnei hamakom vayasem mera'ashotav. So on the pshat, simple meaning of the verse, and Yaakov took from the stones of the place, again the word makom is mentioned the second time, and he placed the stones mera'ashotav, which translates as under his head. Rashi explains that he did what's called a marzev, like a pipe. In other words, under and around the sides of his head, protecting his head from any wild creatures who might want to come and attack him while he's sleeping. So he made a type of like a protection, like a wall of stone under and on the sides, so that no one can come to touch him, okay? And the famous midrash that Rashi brings down, that the stone started to argue. On me, and there were 12 stones. On me, this tzaddik should put his head. No, on me, the tzaddik should put his head. And Hashem made a miracle that they all became one stone. And Rashi proves it that later on, the verse says, and the stone in singular. Here it says, Avnei hamakom, the stones in plural of the place. And then coming up, it says, when he woke up, he took the stone in singular term, because all the stones became one stone. Okay? That's what Rashi brings down. That's the simple meaning of the verse. Okay? Now Rav Nosson wants to show us, what does this mean that he took from the stones of the place and he put them under the head? He already said Rav Nosson, that the makom is referring to the keter. In other words, the gateway to the infinite light. So these stones of the makom must connote something holy, something very high. Look what Rav Nosson says. So Rav Nosson opens up these words, these 5 words. Vayikach me'avnei hamakom vayasem mera'ashotav. And Yaakov took from the stones of the place and he placed them under his head. So Rav Nosson says, Shelakach uverer me'avnei hamakom. That he took, because it says Vayikach, he took, which means he was able to elevate, to clarify, to sift out from the stones of the place, which means holy stones that rightfully belong up, but they're stuck down below. To explain. Bechinat berur otiyot venitzotzot. Unbelievable. The idea of stones is a very deep concept. A stone doesn't have to necessarily mean a dead, useless stone. It could mean also a precious stone, a stone that has value. So in that context, it's the idea, stones based on the Kabbalah, B'Sefer Yetzirah, okay, and also depth in the verse, which he's going to quote soon from Eicha. Stones refer to letters and holy sparks. Holy sparks and letters, holy letters that are trapped. Okay? They're stones because the letters and sparks of holiness are the building blocks of the world. What builds the world to completion? It's the words of Torah, the letters and words of prayer, the words of Torah that you say and you pronounce and you learn. The Torah, to know what to do, we have to read letters. So these letters of Torah literature are the building blocks of the world. That's why they're called stones. Holy sparks also, that the reason why we're still in exile and we're waiting for completion is because holy sparks are trapped. And once they come back, they build up the redemption. That's why sparks are also called avanim. Okay? So Yaakov, he took from the stones of the place is a holy word. So it's referring to that he took and sifted out. Taking means to levarer, to sift out letters and holy sparks. Shehem, it explains now, Shem bechinat avnei kodesh. They correspond to stones of holiness. Shenaflu, he's taking them in because they were misplaced. So Yaakov had to sift them out, to take them. Rav Nosson means to sift them out, because these holy letters and holy sparks, shenaflu lehechalei atmurot, shehem avnei negev. These holy letters and holy sparks have fallen into the domain, the chamber of exchanges, the domain of evil. Okay, the domain where everything's mixed up, like we said earlier. That's this world. Okay, which is why Yaakov had to go to sleep, because it was too severe, the work of elevating from that domain through being besimcha. It's not easy. We went into that earlier, if you recall. So he has to sift out from the exchange chambers these holy sparks, these holy letters that are trapped there, to bring them back out. What is the exchange chambers called? What does the exchange chamber do with these holy letters and holy sparks? It creates what's called avnei negev. Avnei negev means stones that you can stumble upon and trip upon. What does that mean? In order for evil to fool a person, like we said this earlier, there has to be a choice. There has to be an option. If it's all evil, there's no option. When is there an option? When there's good and evil. So the domain, the exchange chambers, they take good and misplace it. They give a misconception. They distort the person's faculty of imagination, causing distorted imagination. And what is rightfully holy stones, these letters, holy letters and holy sparks, the evil domain takes them and covers them up as if they're bad, they're evil. Okay? I'm not going to go into politics now, but the Palestinians are right and the Israelis are wrong, and everyone with a brain says, come on. That's an exchange. That's a pure exchange, okay? Here also, the exchange chambers takes what's truth and convinces the world that this is false. Something which is holy, it's unholy. Something which is right, it's wrong. It's called avnei negev. They take the stones and make people stumble upon them. Instead of now helping build, it's a distortion. It causes the world to stay further in exile and in darkness. Okay? That's Hechalat Murot, Shem Avnei Negev. So these holy sparks, again, Yaakov elevated them. He was able to take it out. It's significant to where Rabbi Nachman parallels the Ktoret. The Ktoret is very powerful in reciting in the morning prayers. Because what does the Ktoret do? It takes the holy sparks that are nourishing the evil and extracts them, leaving the evil dead. And that's the idea of Yaakov Avinu taking the stones. Okay, when you see what it means to put it under his head, is paralleling the idea of what the Ktoret does according to the Kabbalah, according to the Zohar, that saying the Ktoret, today we have no temple, saying the Ktoret, and all the more so when we had the temple and it was actually offered the Ktoret incense offering. What it does, these 11 fragrances, goes into the 10 sfirot of impurity, because you have 10 sfirot of holiness and 10 sfirot of impurity. And the 11th one, the levona, the frankincense, is what gives life to the other 10. The Ktoret goes into the fragrance, the power of smell, goes into all 10, extracts the holy sparks there, brings it back through number 11, the frankincense, back into the domain of holiness, and as a result, the evil collapses and falls, okay? So, the Hechal Tmurot, they live off, they nourish off holy sparks and holy letters. They want that. They want to swallow up of goodness, because that's the only way they can fool people. Like Rashi says, the famous Rashi from Parshat Shlach by the spies, the Meraglim. Rashi says a rule. Why did the spies, first praise the land? They said, Tov haaretz me'od me'od v'zeh pirya. The land is very good, and look at the beautiful fruits. But then they said, but it's a bad land. Eretz ochelet yoshveya. The inhabitants are just dying, and they're giants, and we can't win over them. So they slandered the Holy Land, right? So Rashi says the rule. Why did they start off by saying something positive and good? Rashi says the rule. In order for sheker to be accepted, you have to have some truth. If there's no truth, people won't accept sheker. For a person to accept a lie, he has to be first convinced that it's the right thing. He gives an argument, I'm weak, Oh, I had a wrong upbringing, therefore I'm allowed to steal and rob and kill because I was brought up a certain way. What do you want from me? I was brought up this way. So he gives an excuse to justify the falsehood, okay? So too here, the Halakhot, the exchange chambers, in order to fool people, they need holiness trapped. They need holy sparks and holy letters of the Torah trapped there. That's how they work. That's how they're able to fool people. Because you have also truth and falsehood, but the thing is, they mumble everything up so you stumble and don't get out. Okay, so Rav Nosson shows this idea. These holy letters and holy sparks have fallen to the domain of the exchange chambers, which are called Avnei Negev. Bivchinat, and Rav Nosson, this verse is unbelievable. He quotes a verse from the opening verse of chapter 4 of Eicha. Chapter 4 of Eicha, amazing, is where the prophet Yirmiyahu starts to moan over the death of the tzaddik of that generation, who was the king Yoshiyahu. Yoshiyahu HaMelech was a very righteous king, and when he died, he went out to war with the Egyptians, and the Egyptians killed him. And they struck many spears into his body, and he died by the blood coming out. And the Midrash says that for every little drop of blood that came out, Yirmiyahu was there to bury it, to cover it up with earth, and he mourned over the death of Yirmiyahu. So the verse starts off like this. Eicha, verse 1 of chapter 4. Eicha yu'am zahav yishne haketem atov. How the beautiful shining glow, golden glow on the face of Yoshiyahu, because of his death, yishne haketem atov, the nice ornament of his face was changed now to darkness. And then the second part of the verse talks about what happened as a result. And because the generation lost such a tzaddik, tishtapechna avnei kodesh berosh kol chutzot. This verse has many interpretations. One is, because such a tzaddik was lost, it was opening for destruction, and the destruction caused that holy Jewish souls of the Jewish people were just lying on the outskirts, like lying dead on the streets. Tishtapechna avnei kodesh means it was poured out. Holy stones, which are referring to the holy souls of the Jewish people, were just poured out berosh kol chutzot on the front of the main roads on the outskirts. Like you have like dead bodies just piled up on the outskirts. Okay, so that's what he's saying here. Rav Nosson says Avnei Kodesh is the same idea of holy sparks and holy letters that now have been trapped in the domain of evil. That's what the verse is saying now. That the Avnei Kodesh, because Rav Nosson wants to explain on the verse Vaikach me'avnei makom. He's focusing on the concept of stones. Okay, there's holy stones, and there's the opposite of holy stones, which is the Avnei Negev, the stones that you stumble upon. Okay, the holy stones can be trapped, and it's expressed in this verse that tishtapechna avnei kodesh berosh kol chutzot, etc. That now the holy stones were poured out on the streets, on the outskirts. On chutzot is also an expression for the forces of evil, because they're called chutz. Inside is called holiness, the angels of holiness, purity, etc. And chutz, something which is outside, is considered the domain of impurity. So the holy stones were poured out to the domain, is the concept, Rav Nosson is saying, of the exchange chamber taking the holy stones, which are the holy letters and holy sparks. And it's amazing, just the verse connecting the death of a tzaddik, and then this happening. It's so amazing because it fits into the idea that Yaakov Avinu, being a tzaddik, his job is to sift out the Avnei Kodesh, the holy sparks and the holy letters. But when there's a death of a tzaddik, like in this verse from Eicha, of the death of Yoshiyahu was a big tzaddik, the opening of the verse, how Eicha yu'am zahav yishne haketem atov, how the gold was now dimmed, the golden expression was dimmed, and the ketem atov, the nice ornament on Yoshiyahu as a tzaddik shining, was now changed to something dark. That was the passing of the tzaddik, and as a result, there's no one to bring in the Avnei Kodesh, the holy stones. And as a result, tishtapechna avnei kodesh berosh kol chutzot, the holy stones are poured out to the outskirts of the domain and the rule of the impurity of the outside, of the outskirts. Okay? So this is Rav Nosson's proof to the idea of Avnei Kodesh, being trapped by the evil domain. So now going back to Yaakov Avinu, Tzaddik, what's the idea that now Yaakov took the stones and he put them under his head? So this is the idea. That tzaddik mivarer ha'avanim tovot. The tzaddik takes the good stones, which is the avnei kodesh, the holy stones, the letters and the sparks. Okay, shem avnei kodesh, that are avnei kodesh, like in this verse. Shem otiyot Torah, the letters of the Torah trapped in the exchange of the chambers. He's able to extract them and take them out from the exchange chambers. And what does it mean? And he placed it under his head. What does that mean? And he placed them under his head, that the tzaddik is able that the tzaddik, not only does he take them to extract them, but he's now involved in elevating them to his head. In other words, to the sechel. Because this is what Rabbi Nachman teaches in this lesson, that when you are b'simcha, and you do the mitzvot b'simcha, and when you do the mitzvot b'simcha, you successfully extract these holy sparks, these holy stones from the impurity, okay? And the goal is that you reach the sechel, you reach the bracha of blessing of the sechel. So he's saying here that he took the stones, put them under his head, is to say that this leads to this. By taking the stones that were trapped in the evil, which in our context is doing the mitzvot b'simcha, because you should know, Yaakov Avinu, in this whole incident of coming to the place of the makom and sleeping and having the ladder, and Hashem's promise to him that he'll protect him. And Rashi says, when he wakes up in Parshat Vayetze, it says that he went happily. Yaakov then continued on his way to Haran. It says, Libo nisat raglav, his heart lifted his feet were light, because he was so happy with the promise that Hashem gave him. So in all this, Yaakov is somebody happy. He's not sad. He knows he's doing the will of Hashem. He was doing Kibud Horim. His parents told him to go to Haran to find his marriage partner. He's listening to them. He knows he's doing the will of Hashem. Rivka told him, run away from Esav. So he knows he's on the right path. He's doing the right thing. And Yaakov was somebody happy, because it says, the verse says about Yaakov, Yager Yaakov. Yaakov was someone who was always happy. Yager, Gila. He was happy and enlightened, okay? So because he was happy, he was able to put the stones, to take them, and then put them under his head, meaning to reach the level of the intellect, to fix the keter, so that he can perceive the infinite light. And we will continue B'ezrat Hashem. But the point here, Rav Nosson is showing that the tzaddikim are the ones who mainly do this work. And because of that, you do need a tzaddik in your life, that this process should brush off on you too. If you see you're having difficulty in being happy, because the galut is too overwhelming, and because you're not happy, you can't do your job of sifting, and you should know that every time you do something good, even if it's as low as it is, you daven and your head wasn't in the davening, and it was so you're like very negative about your mitzvah performance, still, there's no such thing that a Jew doesn't do any rectification of a mitzvah. It's just the simcha is needed to propel it upwards. Okay? So you need a tzaddik who's anyways doing this on a national level. By having faith in these tzaddikim, coming closer to them, it brushes off also on you, so that you too can have simcha in elevating the holy stones according to your level, according to who you are, according to the damage that you've done in your previous reincarnations and in this one, to elevate all the sparks that have been trapped because of you in the exchange chambers, to come back out and to reach this sechel, this intellect, which is the head, idea of placing the stones under the head, so that you can eventually reach the blessing of the intellect, which leads to emunah, which leads to the keter, the infinite light, etc. B'ezrat Hashem. To be continued, God willing.